Welcome to this deep dive. We're diving into the art of really seeing other people.
Oh, cool.
And our guide for this is this book by David Brooks, How to Know a Person.
Okay.
I'm excited about this one because it really makes you think differently about how you approach all your relationships.
Yeah, I think you're going to walk away from this deep dive with some new perspectives.
I see too.
Brooks doesn't just scratch the surface. He really goes deep into the psychology of connection.
Yeah.
And really challenges some of our basic assumptions about how we interact with people.
Yeah, and one of those assumptions is that we actually see the people around us.
Wow.
But Brooks argues that we're often just collecting data points.
Okay.
Like, someone's job title or what they're wearing without truly engaging with who they are as a person.
Yeah.
He even uses this anecdote about sitting in a bar watching people but not really seeing them.
Right.
Does that resonate with you at all?
It totally does. And what's fascinating is that this kind of blindness extends even to our closest relationships.
Oh, interesting.
Brooks brings up Vivian Gornick's memoir, Fierce Attachments.
Oh, yeah.
Where she talks about her very complicated relationship with her mother.
That book is so raw and honest.
It is.
Gornick really wrestles with understanding her mother's grief after losing her husband.
Yeah.
Even questioning if it was all a performance.
It makes you wonder if a daughter can struggle to see her own mother.
What?
Clearly. How much are we missing in our interactions with everybody else?
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah.
But Brooks doesn't just point out the problem. He offers solutions.
Okay.
He introduces this concept of accompaniment, which really shifted my thinking.
Uh-huh.
It's about moving through life alongside someone, not just observing them from a distance.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like when I started learning to rock climb and my friend who's a total pro didn't just lecture me about technique.
Yeah.
She literally climbed alongside me, offering encouragement and tips along the way. That shared experience made all the difference.
That's a perfect example of accompaniment in action. Brooks actually draws inspiration from an essay by Lauren Isley about this experience of just floating down the Platte River.
Okay.
Isley couldn't swim, so it was a huge act of trust for him to just let go and drift.
Wait, he couldn't swim?
No, he couldn't swim.
That's terrifying.
I know, but I guess that surrender is kind of the point, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's about being vulnerable, letting go of control, and allowing the experience to unfold organically.
Right.
And that applies to relationships, too.
Okay.
We're not trying to force deep, meaningful conversations right away.
Yeah.
We're building trust slowly through those shared experiences, those everyday moments that help us attune to each other's rhythms.
So it's less about having a grand plan for the relationship and more about just being present in each interaction.
Precisely. It's like those casual conversations you have with a coworker about your favorite Netflix show.
Oh, yeah.
It might seem superficial, but those small moments build familiarity.
Right.
And create a foundation for deeper connection.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this could apply to my own life. But isn't there a risk of becoming too close and losing objectivity? How do we balance accompaniment with the need to think critically about the people we're close to?
That's such an important question. And Brooks doesn't shy away from the challenges of accompaniment.
Okay.
He certainly doesn't advocate for just blind acceptance.
Okay.
I think it's about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Where you're both present and supportive, but also able to see the other person with clear eyes. And that leads us to another key insight from Brooks, the concept of subjective consciousness.
Okay, tell me more about that. That sounds pretty deep.
Brooks uses a powerful example to illustrate this concept.
Okay.
Emmanuel Carrère, a French writer, was vacationing in Sri Lanka when the 2004 tsunami hit.
Oh, wow.
He witnessed firsthand the devastation and the impact it had on the survivors.
That must have been a harrowing experience.
It was, and what struck Carrère was how differently each person processed their grief and trauma. He realized that even when we're experiencing the same event, our interpretations and meanings are shaped by our own unique perspectives and past experiences.
So we're not all seeing the same world even when we're standing in the same room. That's a pretty radical idea.
It is, and it challenges us to be more mindful of the fact that everyone has their own internal world, shaped by their own unique set of filters.
Right.
So how do we tap into that subjective consciousness?
Yeah, how do we do that?
That's where deep listening comes in.
Listening. I've been working on that one for years.
Of course.
But Brooks seems to be talking about something more than just passively hearing what someone's saying.
You're absolutely right. He emphasizes the importance of loud listening.
Loud listening.
Think of someone like Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
She's not just sitting there quietly.
Yeah.
She's reacting, affirming, and creating a space for her guests to feel truly heard.
So it's about being an active participant in the conversation, not just a receptacle for information.
Exactly. Brooks even suggests specific techniques like looping.
Looping, what's that?
Where you paraphrase what the speaker said to make sure you're understanding them correctly.
Oh, okay.
It's a simple but powerful way to show that you're truly engaged.
That's a great tip. I'm definitely going to try that.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in your own thoughts and miss what the other person is really saying.
And, another aspect of deep listening that Brooks highlights is the power of asking the right questions.
Okay.
He talks about this Quaker practice called a clearness committee.
A clearness committee.
Where a group of people help someone make a decision by asking questions, not offering advice.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's about helping someone clarify their own thinking rather than imposing your own solutions.
Exactly. And Brooks emphasizes the power of narrative questions.
Okay.
Those that invite someone to share their personal stories and experiences.
Right.
Because it's through stories that we truly connect with each other on a deeper level.
Okay. I love that. It's like we're all walking around with these incredible stories inside of us, just waiting for someone to ask the right questions to unlock them.
And asking those questions isn't just about gathering information. It's a moral practice, a sign of respect and humility.
Right.
But it's only one part of the equation, right? We also need to cultivate empathy if we want to truly see someone.
Oh, empathy. That's a big one.
It is.
But I think a lot of people misunderstand what empathy really means.
Yeah.
They think it's just about feeling sorry for someone.
Right.
But it's so much more than that, isn't it?
It is. Brooks points to the still face experiment where babies become distressed when their mothers stop responding to them.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
It's heartbreaking to watch.
It is.
But it highlights this primal need we have for recognition and connection from infancy.
It makes you realize how much those early childhood experiences shape our emotional patterns and how we interact with the world.
And Brooks goes even further, exploring how those early experiences can lead to what he calls sacred flaws.
Sacred flaws.
Like overreactivity or passive aggression.
So what we might perceive as a flaw might actually be someone's way of protecting themselves.
Exactly. And understanding that is crucial for developing empathy.
Okay.
It's about seeing the vulnerability beneath the surface, recognizing that everyone is carrying around their own wounds and insecurities.
Right.
Brooks also introduces the work of Simon Baron-Cohen, who proposed an empathy spectrum.
Okay.
Ranging from level 0, where people lack empathy altogether,
wow,
to level 7, where individuals possess an extraordinary ability to connect with others emotionally.
So are some people just born more empathetic than others?
There's definitely a range of natural ability, but the good news is that empathy is a skill we can develop.
That's good.
Brooks highlights practical techniques like Mark Brackett's mood meter, which helps us become more aware of our own emotions, and Ruler, a curriculum that teaches emotional intelligence to students.
I'm starting to realize how much work goes into truly seeing other people. It's not just about being a good listener. It's about understanding their past, their personality, and their emotional landscape.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Really?
In the next part of this deep dive, we'll explore how our own past experiences, our personalities, and even our cultural heritage shape our unique perspectives.
I can't wait to keep going. This has already given me so much to think about.
Stay with us. You won't want to miss what's coming up next.
Definitely. Welcome back to our deep dive into David Brooks's How to Know a Person. You know, in the last part, we talked about deep listening and empathy.
Right.
But I'm realizing that there's a whole other layer to truly seeing someone, understanding their past experiences, and how those experiences have shaped their inner world.
Yeah, you're right. It's like those hidden narratives that we carry with us.
Yeah.
Brooks tells this really poignant story about Frederick Buchner, a theologian,
Okay.
who experienced delayed grief after his father's suicide.
Wow.
He basically shut down emotionally after his father's death went on. His life achieved success,
Yeah.
but never really processed his grief.
Wow, that's heavy. But I guess it shows how those unresolved experiences can linger beneath the surface and shape our understanding of ourselves and others even decades later.
Exactly. And Brooks emphasizes the importance of excavating those hidden narratives,
Okay.
of going back and reinterpreting our past experiences.
Okay.
He suggests different exercises for doing this, like reflecting on family dynamics or identifying key turning points in our lives. I've actually tried some of these exercises myself, and it can be really eye-opening.
It's like we're archaeologists of our own lives digging for clues to understand who we are, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And these exercises can be even more powerful when done with a trusted friend.
Okay.
It's about having someone bear witness to our stories, to offer compassion and understanding.
Right.
That reminds me of a time when I was going through a really tough breakup, and my friend just sat with me and listened without judgment as I poured my heart out.
Yeah.
Having that safe space to process my emotions was so healing.
It makes you realize how important it is to have those people in your life who can hold space for your pain and your growth. But Brooks also reminds us that we're not just a collection of experiences and narratives.
Right.
We also have unique personalities that shape how we interact with the world.
Absolutely. He dives into the big 5 personality traits.
Okay.
Openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism.
Right.
And shows how understanding these traits can provide valuable insights into someone's motivations and behaviors.
Yeah.
It's not about putting people in boxes,
Right.
but rather appreciating the diversity of human nature.
Okay, so let's say I'm trying to understand a coworker who's always super organized and detail-oriented. Are they just wired that way, or is it something they've learned? How can understanding personality traits help me work with them more effectively?
That's a great question. So someone who's highly conscientious like your coworker might thrive in structured environments and be very detail-oriented.
Yeah.
Understanding this can help you tailor your communication style to their preferences.
For example, instead of just sending them a quick email with a vague request, you might want to provide them with a clear outline of what you need and by when.
That makes total sense. It's about recognizing that different personalities have different strengths and then figuring out how to leverage those strengths. Brooks uses the contrasting personalities of Charlotte and Emily Bronte, both brilliant writers, but with very different approaches to life and art.
Right.
Charlotte, more extroverted and social, thrived in the literary world.
Yeah.
While Emily, more introspective and solitary, created her masterpiece, Wuthering Heights, in relative isolation. It's a fascinating example of how different personalities can find their own paths to success and fulfillment.
And it reminds us that there's no one right way to be.
Yeah.
We each have our own unique gifts to offer the world. But our personalities aren't the only factors shaping our journeys, are they?
Right.
Brooks also introduces the concept of life tasks.
Life tasks.
Those common challenges and transitions we all face throughout life. Like starting a new job, getting married, becoming a parent. It's those kinds of things.
Exactly. Each of these life tasks requires us to develop new skills and mindsets.
Okay.
Brooks even talks about how our consciousness evolves to meet these challenges.
Interesting.
For example, young children have a more lantern consciousness, paying attention to everything around them.
Okay.
They're like little sponges soaking up every bit of information.
Yeah.
But as we mature, we develop a more focused spotlight consciousness, allowing us to concentrate on specific tasks and goals.
So if I'm trying to connect with a teenager who seems distracted and overwhelmed, I need to remember that they're still developing that focused spotlight.
Right.
And might need more guidance and support than an adult.
That's a great insight.
Yeah.
Brooks argues that understanding these life tasks can help us better understand people at different stages of life.
Okay.
And be more empathetic to their struggles. For example, someone in the midst of building their career might seem self-absorbed or overly focused on work. But it's because they're grappling with the challenges of establishing themselves professionally and achieving mastery in their field.
It's like having a roadmap to navigate the complexities of human development. It reminds me of how much patience I needed with my parents when they were trying to figure out how to use their new smartphones.
Exactly. It's all about perspective. And that roadmap takes us even further back in time.
Oh, okay.
As Brooks explores how our ancestors and cultural heritage shape our perspectives. He shares the vibrant story of Zora Neale Hurston, a writer and anthropologist
Okay.
who defied societal expectations and celebrated the diversity of Black culture.
I love Zora Neale Hurston. Her work is so rich and insightful. She was a true trailblazer.
She was. And Brooks highlights how Hurston's deep connection to her cultural heritage informed her writing and her understanding of the world.
Yeah.
He also delves into the differences between individualistic and collectivist cultures, referencing Richard Nisbet's research.
Okay.
Nisbet found that Western cultures rooted in Greek philosophy tend to prioritize individual agency and achievement.
While Eastern cultures, influenced by Confucianism, emphasize social harmony and interconnectedness. I remember learning about this in college. It's amazing how these cultural values shape our perceptions of everything from success to happiness.
Absolutely. And Brooks takes us even deeper into this idea by exploring David Fisher's study of regional cultures in America.
Okay.
Fisher's research reveals how early settlement patterns continue to influence contemporary values and behaviors. For instance, the rugged individualism of the Appalachian region can be traced back to the Scots-Irish settlers,
Okay.
who valued self-reliance and independence.
That's fascinating. It's like these cultural threads are woven into the fabric of our communities, even centuries later.
It makes you wonder how your own ancestors show up in your life, doesn't it?
It really does. I'm starting to think about how my grandparents' immigration story might have shaped my own values and beliefs.
It's all connected. Our personal narratives, our personalities, our cultural heritage, they all contribute to the unique lens through which we see the world. And in the next part, we'll explore what happens when those lenses come together.
Okay.
And we have those powerful moments of being truly seen and understood by another person.
I can't wait to unpack that. This is getting really good. Welcome back to the deep dive in the last two parts. We talked a lot about how to understand others.
Yeah.
But now I want to shift gears a bit.
Okay.
What about those moments when we ourselves feel truly seen?
Right.
How does that impact us?
Brooks actually calls those moments of deep connection beholding.
The holding.
He describes it as a moment when you're not just seeing someone, but seeing the world through their eyes.
Okay.
It can be both affirming and challenging.
Can you give me an example of what that might look like?
Sure. Brooks shares a personal story
Okay.
about a moment with his wife where he felt this deep sense of connection.
Yeah.
He was able to step outside of his own perspective,
Right.
see the world from her point of view, and understand her thoughts and feelings in a way he hadn't before.
That's awesome.
He also tells the story about a teacher who called him out for being glib.
Oh.
At first, Brooks felt humiliated,
Right.
but then he realized that she had seen through his facade and was challenging him to be more authentic.
So it sounds like being truly seen can be a little bit of a double-edged sword.
It can be.
Like, it's validating to have someone recognize and appreciate who you really are,
Yeah.
but it can also be unsettling to have your defenses stripped away.
For sure. And Brooks emphasizes that being seen requires vulnerability.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to let go of those carefully constructed personas and show up as our true selves, flaws, and all.
It makes me think about that quote from Brené Brown.
Yeah.
She says, vulnerability is the birthplace of love and belonging and joy and creativity.
Right. And Brooks gives another great example in Robert Caro's biography of Lyndon B. Johnson,
Oh, yeah.
where FDR, after meeting a young Lyndon, remarked on his ambition and predicted his future success.
Yep.
It's an example of how a keen observer can recognize someone's potential even in their early years.
That reminds me of when I was struggling to figure out my career path, and a mentor of mine said, you know, you'd be a fantastic teacher.
Oh, wow.
I had never considered that before.
Really?
But her belief in me really sparked something.
That's awesome.
And I ended up pursuing a career in education.
Good for you.
It's amazing how those moments of being seen can change the course of our lives.
Absolutely. Brooks also talks about Tracy Kidder's experience of connecting with Dio, a young man who had survived the Rwandan genocide.
Oh, wow.
Kidder didn't just interview Dio.
Yeah.
He accompanied him back to the places where his story unfolded, bearing witness to his pain and resilience.
So it sounds like the act of bearing witness is an essential part of truly seeing someone.
It is.
It's about being present with their story.
Right.
Not just listening to their words, but feeling their emotions and understanding the impact of their experiences.
And those deep connections aren't limited to just one-on-one encounters.
Oh.
Brooks also explores the idea of communities of truth.
Okay.
Groups of people who come together in a spirit of genuine dialogue and mutual exploration.
So like a book club
Yes.
where everyone is really engaged,
Right.
or a support group where people feel safe sharing their struggles.
Exactly. Brooks argues that these communities of truth can be a space for us to really gravel with life's big questions,
Yeah.
challenge our assumptions, and connect with others on a deeper level.
I like that.
He emphasizes curiosity, respect, and open-mindedness in these settings.
It's not just about expressing your own opinions,
Right.
but being open to learning from others, even if they're different from your own.
Exactly. Brooks shares a really moving story
Okay.
about Catherine Schultz and her father having a conversation about death.
Wow.
It's a beautiful example of how a shared search for meaning can create a profound connection, even in the face of difficult topics.
It makes you realize that deep connection isn't always about easy conversations or shared interests. It's about being willing to show up authentically, be vulnerable, and to engage in a genuine search for understanding.
And that's a journey that takes effort and intention.
Yeah.
It's not a destination, but a practice we can cultivate throughout our lives.
This has been an incredible journey. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for approaching
Yeah,
relationships.
that's great.
What about you? Any final thoughts?
I just encourage everyone listening to consider what are the unasked questions that could deepen your understanding of someone in your life.
Oh, that's good.
What story are they waiting to tell if only someone would truly listen?
That is an amazing question for all of us to consider. I think this has been a really profound deep dive.
It has.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of what it means to truly see and be seen.
There's always more to explore.
Thanks for joining me on this journey.
Thanks for having me.
This has been the deep dive. Thanks for listening.